Hello everybody, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the Na Yin pillars. And this is the first in, I think, 6 videos, and this is just a general overview. You're not going to learn much from it other than how it's structured, but that is not unimportant. Now the Na Yin is typically taken from your Batsa, or it could be taken from a certain sector or a certain box in your Ziwei Doshu chart. And they're supposed to tell you something about your personality. Now, commonly, it is only the year pillar that is used in Batsa, but of course, there's always exceptions. Some practitioners actually use all 4 pillars. Of course, that makes the interpretation quite a bit more complicated, and there can often be contradictions from one pillar to the next. So apparently, of course, you can say, well, it affects different parts of your life, but sometimes the contradictions are kind of extreme. Now, some prefer to use the pillar that's in either the destiny or the self, and it depends which calculator you use, what they'll call it. But it'll either be destiny or self. That's all I've ever seen of your Ziwei Doshu chart. So you're going to have 12 sectors there, and the one of those will say destiny somewhere. If you're using the English language ones, of course. Well, it might also say self. Could be either one. Now, these 2 pillars, the pillar from your Ziwei Doshu chart and any one of your pillars in your Batsa chart, they can be different. In fact, for me, of course, I have 4 different, I don't have any similar elements, similar pillars in my Batsa chart. And my Ziwei Doshu, the destiny, is yet another one. So I have nothing that's in common. And I don't know how often that is, but it can be 5 different things you might look at, which is a little bit crazy when one of them is hard enough. Now, the Chinese language websites are quite a bit different than the English language ones. In the Chinese language websites, there are 60 pillars, and of course it's converted into they're paired together, so there's 30 Na Yin. However, each of the 60 pillars is given a different interpretation. So it's quite a bit different, quite a bit different from the English language websites. So if you only read the English language websites, which they basically just say, oh, this is the personality characteristic of somebody with your year pillar from your Batsa chart. But, I think back and I say, okay, most of my classmates, about 75%, were born in the same year. They have the same Na Yin. Why are they so different from one another? And the English language websites don't tell you anything about this. And so that, when I first read this, I just said, well, maybe the Na Yin isn't very powerful. Or maybe it's just, sort of made up. But if you read the Chinese language websites, what you learn is that Na Yin is far more complicated. And so there is, let's say, if you read the English language websites, they're telling you what is the best possible expression of a Na Yin, of that particular Na Yin. However, how strongly that is expressed in your particular chart can be based on your elements or other Na Yin pillars in your Batsa. And it could also be based on the season of birth. So the month comes in, even though you don't look at the Na Yin of the month, but it's the season you look at. And so if you have a certain pillar and you're born in season for that Na Yin pillar, then you're good. You're going to have a lot better thing now, or a lot better expression of the good characteristics. Whereas if you're born in the wrong season, everything is really, the energy is very low for the Na Yin, and so it doesn't get expressed very much. So then I started to say, okay, this now makes sense. This could really could really work because they're saying that no, everybody will be different depending on other things in the chart, and it's not simply, oh, you have this is your year pillar, this is your personality. That it doesn't work that way. So I now say, okay, Na Yin is a lot more believable after reading the Chinese language websites. Of course, I translate them into English and have my husband help me with some of the harder Chinese part, which sometimes translates very poorly. So it depends on what's in your full batsa. You may or may not have that good Na Yin characteristic fully expressed. Sometimes it's barely expressed, depending on what's in your chart. Now, also, again, all of the 60 pillars have different rules, even though there's 2 that get stuck together to create a Na Yin. But whether or not that Na Yin is expressed has different rules depending on which of the 2 pillars you are. So again, your elemental balance in your chart can affect the expression of Na Yin, the good side of the Na Yin for you. And for example, there's a wood Na Yin, and there's 6 of them, but there's one that needs a certain earth Na Yin pillar. Or actually, it's 2 pillars there because it's the Na Yin. If you have either one, then the Na Yin really, the wood Na Yin really gets expressed. Now, wood Na Yin means you have growth and more flexibility, and that's, it has the same meanings as it does with the rest of, your personality. A lot of fire means a lot of passion and so forth. Now, after reading the Chinese language websites, I can understand why all my classmates did not share the same personality. So it now makes so much more sense. And I can actually believe this actually has some relationship to reality. Unfortunately, it is extraordinarily complicated. And even more unfortunately, I have not found a really good Chinese language website where I can sift through all the Na Yin. I have to search for each one separately by pasting into my search engine the Chinese language characters, and then just translate away. But it's like even one website which talks about this may only talk about this one group of Na Yin and ignore the others, even though they really do a good job for the one, and they just stop, which is a little annoying. But yeah, it's really hard to navigate. Now, Na Yin can also be used for other systems beyond Bata and Ziwei Doshu, although it's, let's say, a minor part, but it does help you understand certain things. So each Qi hexagram has an associated pillar. And this pillar can be used to investigate the Na Yin in a sector of your residence or even in a palace or sector of your Qi birth chart, which Joey Yap calls destiny chart, but I don't believe in destiny or fate. Now, the Na Yin for the various sectors of your house have some effect, but it's really the spirit and the door that are much stronger. But for example, if you have, let's say you have good stars and you have, let's say, earth and open in where your home office is. Those are both very good to have there. Or maybe you have chief and life or chief and open where your home office is. Very, very good. Now, the question becomes, what is the Na Yin there? If it is a wood Na Yin, that means your business will grow or your ability to learn more will keep up. And you tend to have a really, better pathway forward. Because especially in period 9, things are changing. You have to change with the times. However, if you had an earth Na Yin there, earth Na Yin is more, um, more stable. It doesn't like change. And that is not good for period 9. So certain Na Yins can enhance or sometimes make it harder for you to be able to deal with the times. So if, for example, if you happen to have the earth Na Yin there, then you would have to really go out of your way to keep learning and to keep growing. And you would have to work harder at it. But again, the Na Yin, it doesn't have a huge effect, but it does have some effect. And it probably has to do with your kind of your general attitude or how you feel about learning. So this can be important. Of course, if you've got good stars and a good spirit and a good door in your home office, you're going to get, let's say, 95% of it, and then Na Yin can maybe give you another 5. Or maybe you get 90% and it gives you another 10%. You still get most of it from the spirit in the door. Now, your Chiman chart is based on your Batsa, but there's no guarantee that I know of that the hexagram and therefore the Na Yin pillar in your destiny palace will be the year pillar in your birth chart. It might be. I don't think it is, though. I don't think this is terribly, there's no guarantee there, is what I'm thinking. So the hexagram in a Chiman chart is based on the star and the door of a given sector. Now, the same thing will apply to a Chiman forecasting chart. So you can use this to add a little bit of extra flavor to a forecast reading or to your general personality. I mean, this can help someone who maybe lacks water. If they have a water Na Yin, they can be more flexible. So this is still a good thing to look at, even in your destiny or your natal Batsa chart. And you can also look in your house. But again, these two aren't as strong as everything else in these charts, but it isn't something that you necessarily should ignore. It might explain some things. So there are 30 Na Yin, each having 2 different pillars. One will be Yin, one will be Yang, and there's a very clear order to it. They are broken, these 30 Na Yin are broken into 5 groups and are labeled with an element. And I'm going to introduce different videos. I mean, I'll go through one by one each of the groups, of the 5 groups, because otherwise it would be tremendously long. And each of the Na Yin is given a fancy name, but that's only to identify it. It doesn't really have any meaning. But the interpretation of each Na Yin is much more important. So you just look at the interpretation and just say, okay, it's a nice fancy name. That's nice. Now, you've seen these groups. These are the same as the bureaus that I talked about in a video not that long ago. So it's the same set of pillars. So here's the wood group. So you notice we have rat and ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake. So we just keep, start with the yang and then the next one in the 24 mountains. And we also have the pattern of water, metal, earth, water, metal, earth. So that gets repeated. And of course you have these fancy names. This is as good as I could get translating from the Chinese characters to the English. And I also did look at some various different English language websites to see how they translate, and there's variations. So I just did my best. But anyway, this group is associated with growth, of course, just like wood in your Batsa chart is. So if you have this as your year pillar, one of these as your year pillar, you have extra wood basically in your chart. You have extra, growth potential compared to somebody who has something else. Now, this is the fire group, and again, it's the same set of animal signs. And here it's earth, fire, snake. I mean, sorry, earth, fire, wood, earth, fire, wood. So the pattern of the elements just repeats. And of course, these are, of course, given crazy, crazy names. Well, maybe not crazy, but let's say esoteric names. Not really quite sure what some of this means, like heavenly fire. I really don't know what that means. And here's the earth group. So we have metal, earth, fire, metal, earth, fire. And again, we have the same order of the animal signs. And some of these are kind of strange, like sand or soil in the sand or sand in the soil. So it's a little and soil on the walls and the fortress, and these are kind of crazy. I mean, sometimes they say castle. It's just a little bit crazy. And then roof soil really means tiles on the roof. That seems to be what they mean. And here's the metal group. So we have wood, water, metal, wood, water, metal. And of course, they call the metal. It's actually the gold group. Everything has the Chinese character gold in it. And so, of course, what does fire give you? I missed that. Fire gives you passion. Earth gives you stability. Metal gives you strength and resilience and toughness. And then finally, we have the water group, which gives you flexibility. And it's fire, wood, water, fire, wood, water, same set of animals. And again, you have various different names for these things. So I wouldn't worry too much about the names, but they do help you identify the, uh, the Na Yin. And that's really all they're used for. So that's about it. I will be continuing getting more of the Na Yin out as I research them. It is very tedious. Um, this is the most tedious thing I've done so far. It is because it's a lot of searching and a lot of translation and a lot of trying to understand exactly what's being said because the translation is never perfect. But I'll do my best and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching.